Hey, brand owners and Amazon sellers, Chris McCabe again of e-commerce Chris, talking about suspension trends, talking about how to approach appeals strategy, and of course, offering my expert level insights. When I see crazy alarming things going on that sellers are doing sometimes in large numbers or that Amazon might be doing, in this case, there were a couple of high profile account suspensions that were posted about on LinkedIn. I've got some other videos in terms of the work we did helping troubleshoot those. But what I wanted to focus on today is this concept of tagging members, whether it's in tweets or on LinkedIn or anywhere else, publicly posting it, tagging members of Amazon's legal teams or trying to write letters to legal. There's lots of mention of, well, we're going to have an attorney that we work with, contact legal. There's never any specifics about how well they know people at legal. Sometimes they're vague about it because they're trying to, gather up and collate as many client fees as they possibly can. But way too murky to include something like that in your strategy unless there are legal issues that are already present that should be sent to Amazon legal. Often we find that's not the case. And it could actually harm more than help if you're taking non-legal issues to Amazon legal. Sometimes they keep it, they lock it to themselves for compliance reasons or for their own legal reasons, for their own administrative reasons. It could be a lot of reasons, but you don't want to take that step lightly. If you do contact Amazon legal, whether it's a hard copy letter, whether it's somebody that you're emailing, understand who that person is, what their title is, what their role is, maybe what their track record is in dealing with similar issues like that. I see sellers trying to contact various members of legal teams just because they found their email address somewhere posted, or they're working with an attorney who's dealt with that lawyer before for something totally unrelated, and they're returning to that well, hoping for a similar result. I can assure you the people in Amazon legal aren't going to appreciate that. Number one. Number two, it might not be that helpful. It might undercut other appeals that you've sent in. Maybe you've sent in some high quality appeals to marketplace executives that are responsible for enforcement or who are responsible for abuse prevention if you're being attacked by a competitor. Or maybe you've already got an appeal that's been designated properly to the right team, the right place, and you just have to be a little patient in terms of giving them a chance to read the escalations. I know patience is an ugly word in the Amazon space, especially when you're suspended, but sometimes sellers are only waiting 2 or 3 hours and then they're looking for the next, escalation that they can send somewhere. And it's not a realistic amount of time that's passed. Sometimes you're going to legal because you're kind of thinking, well, this is urgent and desperate enough that we need to go nuclear immediately. And they see going to Amazon legal teams, whether it's the type of thing they'd work on or even look at or not, they think that's something where they can up the stakes. I mean, Amazon knows you're not suing them, right? Let's take a step back and look at, what you can do legally. There are no class action lawsuits of hundreds or dozens or thousands of sellers going to Amazon. People love talking about these things. They love talking about it. They don't love actually doing them, right? For 5, 6, 7 years, we've heard about all these wonderful class action cases that never come to fruition. Number one. Number two, you can go to arbitration with Amazon. You cannot sue Amazon. There might be certain cases that maybe could involve involvement by, let's say, the U.S. federal government or a federal agency. Yes, in some of those cases, maybe they'll be able to initiate some litigation that involves Amazon, that it may involve sellers too, the antitrust case being one example. But those are few and far between, and those are other players getting involved in a very high stakes game. That's not you taking one letter from one lawyer and sending it to Amazon and expecting magical results. Are there cases where letters or emails go to certain attorneys in legal and they forward that letter to the proper place? Yes, of course. I mean, lots of people at Amazon know that emails or letters or contacts from sellers sometimes get misrouted, and they're not necessarily going to throw it away. Some of them will throw it away if it has nothing to do with them, but others will be willing to reroute them to the proper team. But I would say, and I would argue, why not send it to the right place to begin with, right? Why create more confusion, bad communication, headaches, administrative failures within Amazon? Trust me, there's already plenty of those to go around. You don't need to make more of them. Why create more hell and more difficulty for yourself by sending things to the wrong place? You're not necessarily getting a more serious pair of eyes on your case by doing that. I know these things might feel good in the moment. I know it might be happy to talk about these things in groups or at events and to say these things and to feel better for a few minutes. But If it's not helping you move your appeal, get your suspension lifted, get that competitor to stop attacking you or any of these avenues, if you're just undercutting your ability to solve these the proper way, why pester the legal teams about it, right? Go to legal for legal based issues. Make sure you're not assuming that you've got an expert grasp on the legal issues if you're not an attorney or if you don't have legal expertise in that area. Of course, there are some sellers that also are attorneys, but we've also seen attorneys making some big time mistakes in the letters that they send to legal, especially if it's not their area of expertise, if they're doing intellectual property work, but they're not IP attorneys, or, things of that nature. We've seen a lot of legal mistakes made by supposedly legal trained teams. So questions on this, let us know. We're not attorneys. I can't answer a legal question for you, but I can help you manage and decide certain steps around strategy in terms of what types of things you would go to Amazon Legal for and why. Thanks again for listening. Again, I'm Chris McCabe at e-commerce. Chris, happy to help when I can.